Hello, everyone. Welcome to Plum Talks. Let us welcome Pierre-Paul with the sounding applause. Get ready to get inspired, informed, and equipped with the tools to navigate and the exciting and ever-changing landscape of PPC marketing. I am following Pierre-Paul from few months back on LinkedIn, and I feel I think. The discussion of PPC marketing is really important. What is something is changing in the world right now, and how we can get up to date as a freelancer, as an agency person, how we can make our clients much more comfortable with the services that we are trying to give them. So today our topic would be similar to PPC marketing, and what is the things we can improve as a PPC marketer so that we can deliver good results and a better results to our clients. So Pierre, if you want, whenever you are ready, you can start introducing yourself as a how your professional career has started, what kind of PPC management you are doing in your work.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here, Shiv. It's appreciated. So my name is Pierre-Paul Couronne, which is very French. And so I'm from the French part of Canada, from the Greater Montreal area, actually. And so my name also spells, like the acronym spells PPC. So it's kind of like happened that a lot of my colleagues and friends over the last like decade or so have been calling me PPC, just because Pierre-Paul Couronne or Pierre-Paul is a bit of a mouthful for them, especially for the Anglophones. It's a bit challenging sometimes, I find. So it ended up being called PPC, which kind of, even before I was doing this work, so the stars kind of aligned to bring me to this direction. For some background context about my career, so I actually started off doing a lot of work in the music industry, just locally, kind of small time, working with artists. I was doing artist management actually, and I registered as a independent record label. So as an independent record label, like as the name states, independent, there was a lot of like me wearing several hats. There was a lot of me doing like booking their studio time, booking their photographers, organizing their live events, pretty much everything that involved promoting an artist, really. So that was really my introduction into marketing, even before I knew and understood the concept of like marketing as a whole. I was kind of already doing it, but I did that for a good 9-10 years, which was all about like building up the brands around these artists and promoting the brand awareness around them. So that was my real taste into marketing. So what happened as well was, as I started bridging out of music, I got interested into digital marketing more and more. It was right around the time that social media started becoming a thing. So like towards the end of my quote unquote music career was like when MySpace was really hot and Facebook was just coming out, Twitter and so on. So record labels basically were like, it would be all great for us to have mixtapes and have all these live events, but like if they couldn't Google the name of the artist and find an online presence, it wasn't going, because they wanted to have, like, they wanted to know that you already had that audience, right? So I started investing some time about like, okay, how do we make this happen? How do we start like getting these people online and building an online presence? And that totally changed my life. I became fascinated with everything to do with digital marketing from that moment on. That was back in 2014. So I slowly phased out of music and totally committed to digital marketing as a whole. I started doing a lot of courses online. I did a lot of self-teaching like HubSpot Academy, Google Skill Shops, Facebook Blueprints. There's a lot of resources out there that allows you to learn the ins and outs of marketing and inbound methodology. So yeah, that's where a lot of that like led me to where I'm at now.
I can totally relate with your professional career, since I have been also into cricket when I was like 6 years 7 years back. I used to play cricket, and since I was working and living the dream of my game is like cricket is something like I want to pursue. So I ever known about the cricket is something like I know in depth about what kind of ball is the academy can use, what kind of bat academy can use, a player, what kind of bat a player should use, so that gives me understanding of my profession, that thing. And this is how I also started as a marketer. I started selling when I realized, okay, I think I should also start earning something. So I just started a social media for few academies where I used to sell their products, because since I was as a cricketer, I know in depth about the product and something, so I was able to sell their products as well. So my way was also similar to like how my profession made me to go to the marketing, since and that's a very important thing as a marketer. You always need to understand the right business, the business that you are going to take care of. You should know what that subject is, it is like what you are going to sell to your customers. You should know in depth about your product or something. So I can totally relate with this. Like this is how my digital marketing career is also started. And it is important to uh, have fun when you are in the marketing. So uh, I always have a fun to know about the cricket equipments whenever I am going to here and there. So that's a great topic to talk about. So what kind of marketing? Since you are working on a PPC marketing, there are much other platforms also, like for Google Ads, Facebook Ads, Bing Ads. People say I am good in every platforms, but I have also realized clients or people who are looking for actual experts, they look for a, especially they look for exact platform they're looking for. So in which platforms you are mostly into, or which platform you enjoy working or be in a trend of?
So that's a good question. So it's Facebook advertising, but
Oh,
it's interesting what brought me there, because when I was doing all this self-teaching online, a lot of the work that I was doing was around inbound methodology, organic marketing, content marketing. So paid ads wasn't really a big part of what I was doing.
yeah.
And a couple of years ago, so there was a lot of self-teaching, but then there was also a couple of years ago, I took a course at like a local college about search engine marketing and search engine optimization.
Okay.
And search engine marketing was basically like Google Ads, but really the one that stuck the most with me was the SEO, the organic portion of everything, which
Okay.
was content marketing and all that. But at the same time, as I was doing all that, I had a friend that I was following online, similar, like I was following them on LinkedIn and through different social media platforms. It was an acquaintance, somebody I'd met a few times, and I noticed that they had launched their own marketing agency. They were really doing well. It was somebody I looked up to, and I noticed that they had an opening in their team. So I was like, why not? Let me give it a try. Let's see what happens, right? So I reached out to them and I had the opportunity to join his team. And they already had their in-house expert in Facebook ads, and he's like a guru in this stuff. He knows so much about it. And so they were looking to expand more, I believe, in the Facebook advertising. So he took me under his wing and taught me a lot of the ins and outs of Facebook advertising. And it became like you're saying, like it's good to know a little bit about everything, but it's also good to have a specialty where you kind of like focus and like zone into this one platform or one topic. So right now at this moment, it's Facebook advertising. A couple years ago, it was more SEO. I don't know where it's going to be at in a couple of years from now, right? The industry is changing a lot. And so I try to stay up to date as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of learning. So I'm always trying to consume more and more information and specialize in different things. But yes, right at this moment, it's Facebook advertising and search engine optimization, I would say, are the two, even though they're pretty different, those are the two that I do the most of.
Nice, nice. I realized on like similar, what is the difference you see when if you have worked on Google Ads? What's the difference you have seen on Google, in between Google or Facebook's targeting? Like if you're working on any of the client who is generating leads from Google and Facebook as well. So what is the difference in both type of platforms basically?
It's a good point, but like I guess it depends also what part of Google, right? Because you have like display campaigns of Google, you have search campaigns, you have
Hmm.
video campaigns. So obviously, I think that they each have their own strengths.
Yeah.
Google's search campaign is fantastic for the fact that it considers the intent of the consumer, right? So
Yes.
somebody that is searching for your product or service is much more likely to convert than somebody that's just browsing Facebook
Hmm.
and doesn't really know about you, right? So that intent aspect is really great. There's a lot of competition, but there's a lot of ways to manage Google ads and search ads as well. Um, Facebook, on the other hand, I find is fantastic for interest targeting. And Facebook owns a lot of like, let's say, quote unquote, digital landscape, as well as I understand Google does as well. But like, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you have WhatsApp. There's like 17 different placements that you can like play around with on the Facebook ads manager, right? So there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of reach in the concept of like social media marketing, including Facebook.
And how difficult it is to manage all those 17 platforms inside a Facebook itself, because I believe there should be the creative would be designed in every according to the every platform, right? So how easy or how tough is to communicate with the graphic designer for the particular creative or something like this?
That's a very good point. So that's something a lot of people overlook, is that they will tend to create one ad and
Oh,
just put it on everything, right?
yeah,
So Facebook has this option, which is called Advantage. It used to be called automatic placement, but now it's called
yeah.
Advantage placement, I think. They like to switch up the names every once in a
Yes,
while, keep us on
automatically.
our toes. Yeah. So I don't think it's challenging if you're working with the right people.
Okay.
I think what's important is for you to understand, to have the need to do that. So some clients and some campaigns, and it also depends also on like, I would say it almost depends as well as like what stage of the funnel you're trying to focus on. If you're on
Yeah.
top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel,
Yeah.
like there are different ways to communicate with people depending on
Yes.
the different stages of the marketing funnel. And so if you have a good graphic designing team to work with or a good videography team to work with, you can like relay that information in pretty, especially if they specialize in marketing, right? So there's one thing to have just a graphic designer that makes graphics
Yeah.
generally, but there's another concept of working with somebody that knows about marketing and advertising. So if you find that right team or you work with those kind of people, it's not that hard. It's really something, but it is important. So I'm really happy you bring it up, because I do think that like you should have tailored creatives for the different
Yeah.
placements. Not all 17. It doesn't mean you need 17 different placements. There's a lot of them that can work into you can kind of like work on multiple different placements, especially Instagram Reels and Instagram Stories.
Yeah.
Other than the length of the video content, you can still work within similar like format, right?
I I totally relate, because sometimes when I audit any of the Facebook accounts, like 60% I see a lot of marketers or beginner marketers, I would say. Not I won't argue with the advanced or people who are already working a decade from Facebook marketing, but people who have already just started on Facebook, what they are doing is something like they are just putting one ad, as you mentioned, putting one ad and putting on the Facebook ads, and it will automatically do the work Facebook. But sometimes it happens, the image that you're putting on Facebook is not adjusted with the frame that maybe 15 or 16 placement. For example, the ad is square sized and you put it on Facebook, but it doesn't work with the story of a Facebook. So at the end, you understand, okay, you tell to client, my ad is running on the 17 platforms or 15 platforms, whatever the Facebook has. But at the end, when the results came, you understand, okay, my ad is only ran on the story only, because the ad format won't allow for the other placement. So these are the mistake I see on the Facebook. So I just want to know, what are the common mistakes you have seen while working on a Facebook ads for your clients, and you have seen or you have done that kind of mistake, and something like made a note of, whenever you are going to work it on other accounts, you make sure these are the things should be corrected first on a first basis.
It's a good question as well. So I'm thinking about some of the mistakes that I've made in the past, and which one would be like the best thing to share. Um, so I think, and there's a lot of little details. There's a lot of little steps in setting up a Facebook ad campaign, as most campaigns, right? And so one of the ways that I've learned to reduce my mistakes and really the experience by doing it after like a couple of years now is really kind of just build out a checklist of like
Okay.
all the little steps. And so when we're talking about small little technical components of like, for example, not putting in your UTM parameters or not putting in
Perfect.
like something that
Yes.
will allow you to track that specific ad.
Yes.
That's a very common thing. People don't think about that all the time,
Yes.
but it's a pretty important aspect. You want to be able to attribute your, when you're using when you're using a third party like analytics tools like Google
Yes.
Analytics or
Yeah.
whatever you're using, you want to be able to attribute that conversion or that action to that specific campaign or that specific ad. And to do that, there's a little bit of like UTM parameters that needs to be
Yes.
inputted. So that's it looks like a detail when you're setting up the Facebook ads, right?
Yes.
So if you're a beginner and you're just getting into it, I can't even count how many ads I've created without UTM parameters. Like it took me for like not forever, but it took me a little while to realize like how to properly manage those, be
Yeah.
able to track the things with placement, like you're saying. That's kind of I'm trying to case by case situation for the placements. Like
Yes.
sometimes I have to make a call on like, is it worth investing all this time and delegating a whole graphic designer to go and tweak a
Yes.
whole bunch of things?
Yeah.
Or can I ask them for a one size fits all kind of
Yeah.
situation that will at least reach a maximum amount of placements, right?
Yeah.
So that one isn't a mistake I see so much, but as on the perspective of like business owners or clients that have tried to run their own ads, I would say the biggest thing that I've seen that is kind of like almost scary is mismanagement of budget, right? Like that's the worst
Yes.
one that I feel
Mm.
like you could do as a business owner. And it's not like, oh, having too little budget or too large of a budget, or it's more about like understanding the marketing funnel and understanding your cold audiences, your warm audiences, and knowing that you need to invest the right amount in the, like, an example that I can give here is that popular quote, like, the right marketing is all about telling the right story to the right people at the right time, right? That's a very
Exactly.
popular
Yes.
common quote. Tell
Yeah.
the right story to the right people at the right time, and you're going to get results that you want. So I constantly think of that quote, and in a concept of errors I would see some businesses or brands do is not investing enough in determining what is that right story, right?
Yes.
Because you might have multiple different avatars or multiple different personas. And so it doesn't mean that that one story is going to work for everybody. It might be testing different videos, different statics, different ad copy. So really like if you want to nail your campaigns as efficiently as possible, you have to test. You have to allow budget for testing, finding the right story, which is your ads basically. And then you want to test the different targeting, the different audiences, right? So allowing budget for testing and investing in your warm audience is, I think, something that I tell some of my clients that I've seen run their own ads for a little while, and I'm just like, you're not, this is not right. Like you're putting all your money in a conversion campaign, and
Yeah.
then you're having super high cost for acquisitions because you don't know your story yet. You don't know what's the right audience. You don't know what's the right ad. Like
Mm.
you're just throwing all your budget in one place and seeing it burn. Like,
I've I've
and then they have a
also
tendency of like Facebook ads don't work.
yeah, I've also realized one thing that's a very common mistake, and but I feel a lot of the Facebook marketers also don't take care of the frequency part on the Facebook ads. Is something like uh, uh, if you're running an ad for any of the target audience, you need to make sure you are not overwhelming them with the multiple ads again and again. So you need to make sure uh, you have a time frame. Okay, after that, I will show the ad to that particular customer again, or a website visitor. So what do you think about frequency? Like what is the average frequency you think should be better? Or like as far as my understanding, I keep it two, max two, but I've seen companies who are using four or five, but I just personally feel this is something might bother your customers, and maybe in the coming time they get irritated with your ads if you make a frequency more than three or four. But what kind of number you have seen in multiple campaigns in your work life, or anything that you want to share with with the term frequency of your Facebook ads?
There's a lot of information available online that are quote unquote benchmarks,
Yeah.
right? That are going to be like, this is the standard industry, like this is the industry standard. You want to aim for that benchmark. This
Yeah.
is the click-through rate you need to get. Anything above that, anything under that is
Yeah.
problematic. I think that like after doing this for a couple of years now, I'm realizing that it really comes down to your niche, your brand, your
Yes.
data. Like you're relying on your data.
Yes.
It is the most important thing. So when I was starting off, I was aiming between 2 to 3 for frequency and not letting it go much further than that. Because you don't want to create ad fatigue, like you were saying. That's, I think, the
Yes.
term that people use a lot for this is ad fatigue when they're just seeing the same ads constantly. There are settings in Facebook, by the way, that allows you to cap that. You can put a frequency
Yes.
cap as well.
Of course.
especially if you're doing like a reach campaign, right?
Yeah.
But in regards to what's the best practice, I also think it depends on the kind of campaign you're running. If
Yes.
you're at the top of funnel and you're running an
Mm.
awareness campaign and your goal is to get as many people in a certain area to know about an upcoming event that you have in like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
go wild. Like go
Yeah.
for like six,
Yeah.
seven, like
Yes. Yes.
frequency, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
especially if your thing is based on a time, like you don't want to like restrict yourself to like 2 or 3 or 4. Like no,
Yeah.
you want the most people seeing it, and then
Yes.
you're gonna unplug it when it's time. I also know that like with some clients, they have so much data, they run ads for such large budgets and for so long that we can start relying on their data to know what is the right threshold. Like for example, there's one client that I work with where we'll know that if they are hitting a 5 frequency, we start seeing their cost per acquisition rise on that specific product. It's like been historically speaking their
Mm.
threshold. So we
Yeah.
allow it to go up to 5 because we're like, okay, here's the budget. Let's make it to we hit a 5 frequency because we start seeing the cost per action going up. And then we're like, okay, that's a good time now. Once we've hit 5, like we're probably going to see. And that specifically even works better because of the warm targeting. For those kind of campaigns, we're targeting people that have a large warm audience. And so we can't compare warm and cold audiences either for frequency, right? So I think that it's hard to give a specific number, but it is something to pay attention to. It is important,
Yeah.
and I think finding the right number for your business, your product is what matters. And the best way to do that is testing.
Yeah. And you can save money for your client, understanding the right frequency numbers for your, like, you are not going to show the ads to people who are not interested in the coming time. So maybe you can also spend some save some money for your customers. One more thing is something like a lot of companies or a lot of freelancers nowadays also very much interested in understanding the data. Like if they are working on Facebook ads, they want to know what kind of numbers your Google Ads person is getting from Google Ads, what kind of numbers Bing Ads customer is going on. So how do you as a Facebook marketer, how do you want to sum up and understand the complete funnel for a particular business or something like that? Maybe it could be a word of in the market that is called omni-channel marketing. So what's your take on this particular thing, to understand the multiple platforms for a business who are running ads on multiple platforms, how they can achieve a better results for their business?
Yeah, it's omni-channel marketing as a topic is a really big topic and a really interesting one, and I would find increasingly more and more important one. So recently, as most marketers realize, because of the iOS 14 updates, we're going cookieless, a lot of attribution got lost. And I believe last year I was like attending Ads World, and like everybody was running around like in full panic mode of like all of
Yeah,
our data is disappearing. What are we going to do?
yeah,
And so a big part of the solution to that was diversify your portfolio of marketing platforms. Like don't put everything like at Facebook was one of the first ones to really get hit right with that because of the iOS updates. Like
yeah,
we started losing a lot of attribution data on Facebook. And so a lot of people were like, oh, Facebook is dead. I can guarantee you Facebook is not dead in regards to like advertising anyways. But a lot of solutions that people started shifting was going towards something that was already existing, that was already there, which was investing into the concept of diversifying your platforms, like not having all of your business relying on just one form of conversion or one platform.
exactly.
And so
Yes.
omni-channel marketing is, yeah, I was checking, I was actually recently reading up into this, and I think the broad definition was creating high quality consumer experience across all of your channels. That
Okay.
was like kind of like for the consumer across all of your channels, the same high quality experience that kind of connects to each other. I think I've been spending a lot of time thinking about omnichannel marketing, and I think that I would take it even a step further. I read a book called the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's an
Yeah,
old book, still a great
yeah,
book.
yeah.
One of the habits was synergy, and so there's a line in that book about synergy that really like stuck with me, which was 1 + 1 = 3 if you do it right. I don't know if
Mm.
that's exact word by word, but it's basically what they were talking about, and that really stuck with me because obviously we know 1 + 1 = 2. So we're like, I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And as I was reading through the chapter, it was really about how, done properly, the combination of efforts of work from one and one to become something bigger versus operating individually. And so it's just like another way of saying, like, we're stronger together, there's strength in numbers, that kind of thing. And so, for example, if you had Facebook ads, you have Google ads running, and they are two separate platforms. That's a multi-channel platform. You have 1+1 is 2, right? You
Yeah.
have two platforms running.
Yeah.
But if those two ad managers don't really communicate to each other and don't regularly check in on with each other or if you don't have one person kind of leading the strategy here about what is the bigger picture goal for the company, right? Because we have to have SMART goals. We need to have goals that are laid out quarterly, annually. And so if these platforms are not working together to reach those goals, then they're more like multi-channel versus like an omni-channel. An omni-channel strategy, I believe, would be really those different platforms working together to create one experience for the consumer. It's almost like telling, you want consistency, right? So it's almost like you're not trying to tell the same story on Facebook, on TikTok, on Google, on your email. You're not just going to be repetitive. That's going to be boring and annoying. But you want to be able to tell different parts of the story so that the consumer that's absorbing this content is able to paint a bigger picture of your overall brand and business. So I think that's really where omni-channel marketing strategies come into play. Being able to like orchestrate all these different things together. Let's say you have a crazy drum solo and a crazy guitar riff, or like all these different instruments are going together, right? It's about orchestrating them so that you have like one masterpiece of music at the end.
Yeah. So have you ever worked for any client as a omni-channel marketing, like applied this fundamental to any of the client, or this is something you are going to do that or something like that?
I have to say it's something that I'm regularly trying to do because I
Okay.
have a bit of background in SEO, a bit of work, and I'm doing more content marketing. And as we've been discussing, Facebook paid ads is more what I do on a day-to-day. Well, ultimately, I'm constantly kind of bringing this back to the clients that, we want to put all these efforts to connect together so that we can create an omni-channel strategy.
Yeah.
But it's one thing talking about it and another thing doing it. I gotta say, it's not an easy feat to do. Like there's a lot that goes behind it. But it's a constant work in progress. And I think one of the things is really even regularly auditing the efforts, because that's what I think is where companies can get lost as well sometimes, is that you can have a certain strategy on TikTok and a certain strategy on Facebook. And if you have two people running that, if you're not auditing those different channels and those different strategies, it's easily lost like partway through, like halfway through the year. One group can be doing one thing and one group can be doing the other. And that's why having an omni-channel strategy kind of like keeps all that together.
And like how you prepare omni-channel marketing, like what kind of fundamental things you keep in consideration while creating basic I know it might take a long to demonstrate for a business, but any of the top 3 things you just keep in mind, and that's how you started.
So I think that one thing that I would try to keep in mind for clients is and this is applicable, I think, for most types of strategies, is know your business goals.
Of
Like
course.
know what it is
Yes.
that they're trying to aim and achieve. And
Okay.
it seems very like obviously, right? You would think like, oh, obviously we need to know the business goals, but like really know it, deeply know what is the goal for the quarter, for the year, what is the goal for this month, and how are we getting there? Like have a deep understanding of that. So that I think is step 1. Step 2, I guess for omni-channel marketing, the other thing is diversify your portfolio, like have presence on multiple platforms. That's also important. Like you can't have an omni-channel strategy if you're only on one platform. So step 1.5 is make sure that you're on multiple channels.
Yeah.
Step 2, I would say, is also like take a very deep look at your customer avatars, at your buyer personas. Like that is a crucial aspect that's relevant in all your strategies, right? And in the context of omni-channel marketing, you also want to kind of focus on a bit like email marketing, your audience segmentation.
Okay.
So, okay, you brought all these people into the website, but Now it's an extra step of importance of segmenting them properly. So for example, people that have abandoned cart, people that added items into their cart and didn't finalize their purchase,
Yeah.
that's a very key segment that you should be paying attention to, right?
Yes.
And so you can retarget them. They could have come through your channel through TikTok or Google
Yes.
Ads, and then they came to your website, and then they were retargeted on another platform, let's say Google Display, and then they came to your website. They decided it's the second time that they've been on here now. They take action, they add to cart, but something distracts them. Their dog runs off, and they go catch their dog, and they forget about the transaction. Now you're emailing them like, hey, by the way, you added this item to cart.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you want to finalize your purchase, right? So that's omni-channel. Like that's taking that customer through that journey, their buyers, and that's what it comes down to. Audience segmentation is strongly connected to their consumer journey, so that you have to know that basically.
And as a marketers, it's your responsibility, I guess, to it's our responsibility, because I am also into marketing. It's our responsibility to take care of our customers. Like if they have put it something on add to carts, it's our I think duty to tell them, maybe if they forgot or something, they can transact that particular product. Because I have seen a lot of agencies or a lot of freelancers are also doing similar things. It's just they are creating add to carts from Facebook, but they are not connecting with those customers again through email, because email is much more personalized when you connect with the customers. And that's here, I guess, the omni-channel marketing could be very beneficial for any of the businesses uh, to create a smooth process for a customer. If they visited your website and they have a nice email, they receive a nice email from you with a greetings. So I think a storytelling or a storytelling mindset for a marketer could play a very great role as a marketers, I guess. So what's your perspective on storytelling nowadays? Marketing businesses have always used like storytelling is something has been evolved in last decade a lot, but uh, what's your perspective on be a storyteller, great storyteller as a marketer? Like that's something I just want to know your perspective on it.
It's probably the most important thing that you can do. Is my in my opinion, my perspective is being a good storyteller is probably the most important thing you can do. You know, like like I was just saying, last year everybody was kind of like in panic mode because of data attribution being lost and this and that. This year everybody's all up into the AI world, right? So technology is evolving. Everybody is like, there's like 1,000 new like AI tools every minute or something. Like it's crazy. And so ultimately, I think all those flashy, I don't want to say distractions because they are important, but all those flashy moments of like, oh, this is the new hot trend. This is the new most important thing. It all comes back to like the roots of, again, telling the right story to the right people at the right time, right? That's why I think that's such a popular quote. And like humans and in general have been relying on storytelling for millennia for all sorts of things. There's a regular example of this, but like, the drawings in the caves, like that's how we used to tell our neighbors, like, hey, saber tooth over there, watch out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just heads up, little. So I think that storytelling has been around for a very long time. I think it's going to continue to be around for a very long time. I think that humans are now leveraging AI to be able to tell different stories in different ways. But as a marketer and as a businesses and brands, it's important to remember, like, what's that? I think it's Simon Sinek that says like the golden circle is start with why. Like, so for the brand and the business, they have to remember the why they're doing what they're doing, like why they're producing this product or their service. There's usually a product or service is going to solve a problem or a challenge for the consumer, right? So you have to kind of regularly remember that and finding new innovative ways to telling the most enticing and powerful story around that for your right audience.
And I personally feel is if you are a good storyteller, or if you develop a storytelling, it's something like a lot of I talk to a lot of freelancers, and this I as Shiv, I do not have that capability of creating a story or something. I think you can create it by reading books or something, regular articles. You can be a good storyteller. I think storytelling could be a can play a great role in your omni-channel marketing as well. Like while you are running an ad on Facebook, if you can connect your story somewhere with your emails as well, I think that can also play a great role in communicating your customers. Okay, that guy knows my story. Like I go, for example, as you mentioned, his dog came and he went for a dog or something like that. So we can remind them for to yeah. So omni-channel marketing. This is an interesting topic I learned and wanted to discuss with you. What's your perspective? I think we are at the end
Yeah.
of our. Yes, yes, please. I'm sorry.
So I was just gonna say I wanted to just add on to the concept about storytelling and the connection with omni-channel marketing. I think is also like
Yeah.
the focus on the bigger story, right? So like you can
Mm,
use different platforms to tell different parts of the story to your consumer.
yeah.
And I think that's something to keep in mind here is also like in content marketing, there's this concept of like the 4 A's of content. So like attraction content, authority content, affinity content, and action content, right? So you want to be able to tell that the right stories for those different pieces of content
Yeah.
to the right audience and knowing your
Yeah.
avatar also at the right time. So like for example, if like it's Friday, you might drop a little fun piece of info on TikTok that's going to be more an affinity content, right? That's going to like
Yeah.
create that sense of like, oh, I like this brand, they're really cool. Versus
Mm,
like it's Monday, people are planning their week, you might want to lean a little bit more on
yes.
authority content. You want to make sure that they think of you when they're trying to find credible sources. So yeah, again, like I was saying earlier, the best example is well, one of my favorite examples is that whole orchestra situation. You want to really have a maestro, and I also think that it doesn't need to be one person. You can have
Yeah.
a team of people working, brainstorming together to like maestro this whole orchestra.
Yes. It's really important to have a team discussion. If you're a team, it should you should always have a team discussion and know everyone's perspective. I've seen I have seen when I'm talking to other young people, young creative people or members who are joining our team nowadays, is like they have a great story to tell nowadays, more than us. But yes, uh, as we hold an experience, we can tell them this is how you can delegate your stories. But yeah, they have, millennials have a great sense of stories, and I think they can help. I feel as a marketers, we are helpers of customers. Like we help them to make better decisions for their purchases. And I think millennials in the coming time, they might help, able to help much better for their customers. So yeah, that's it. If you want to share anything for uh, for the people who are watching this Plum Talk, anything that maybe a cheat sheet or anything that you want to share that can help them to uh, start their Facebook career, if they are already in Facebook, how they can get up to dated on how they maybe they can get more productive in their Facebook advertising. Anything that you want to share?
Well, I would say I think I mentioned them earlier, but I think that going directly to the source, like Facebook has a bunch of learning resources as well, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
I think it's called Blueprints, Facebook Blueprints. It's
Facebook
been a while
blueprint.
since I've been on there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Google. They have skill shops. So there's a lot of reliable sources out there. There's a ton. If anything, there's almost like an oversaturating amount of content out there that's trying to teach people how to market. So I wouldn't say there's a lack of info. It's just about going out there and committing the time into it. And also just kind of staying aware that it's a very evolving field and it's constantly changing. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I'm also starting a new blog because I just mentioned there's already a lot
Oh,
of information
nice.
out there. I'm like, let me add some more information.
Great.
So yeah, I'm starting a new blog and it should be ready early next week or at the end of this week, which is learningmarketing.co. It's a little
Wow.
shameless plug-in here. So if
Okay.
you want to go check it out, it's going to be learningmarketing.co. Should be available end of this week or early next week. And also, in general, if you ever want to connect with me, you can also find me on LinkedIn under Pierre-Paul Couronne
We
as
will.
a way to follow some content. My goal, like my direction from now that I'm trying to build from now on is to share insights that I might have been learning over the last like couple decades now, from the early music days to like everything I might
Yeah.
have learned since then. I kind of want to I'm at that stage where I'm really interested in investing into sharing back as much information as I can. And
Mm.
also to continuously learn because I also know that there's
Yes.
still a
Yes.
tremendous mountain of
Mm.
things for me to continue to learn. And so I feel like this is a great way to do it. So I'm going to put out what I already know and I'm going to keep my ear and eyes out to learn some more from your followers and anybody else that might be
We,
putting juicy content out there.
We will be sharing your LinkedIn profile and your latest article for sure in this particular video. And yes, I totally agree with you. Whatever we know, we should, as a marketer or as any other professional, we should write something so that the coming professionals can understand and can learn the concept that we have already worked on. And I think that's also a part of unlearning ourselves and learning something new. When we write, I think we just share our thoughts on a book, and just we opt out our thoughts and we start learning something else, something new that is in the market.
So you said something earlier about like millennials and
Yeah.
Generation Z, or like just that newer generation and how they're going to be storytellers as well. I think it's fascinating because they're growing up with this technology that like I didn't have growing up, right? When I was growing up, I was playing with like Legos and like Smurf toys or whatever. But these kids nowadays are like, they're like, different angles with their phones, picking
Yeah.
out different shots. They're like 10 years old, full on
Yeah.
video producer. And I was
Yeah.
like, what is happening? They're creating such interesting content sometimes. Like I look at my like little cousins, for example, as like within my own family, and seeing how like they have that interest already to be
Yeah.
storytellers at such a young age. And so I think that the future is going to have some really interesting content and stories out there.
We hope for the best, and we would love to share our thoughts and our learnings with the millennials, our upcoming people who already want to join us. And I think that's the end of our podcast and our talk. Um, Thank you so much, Pierre-Paul. It's a great honor to uh, uh, ask you to join our talks, and because it's the initial Plum Talks we are producing right now. Thank you for being an initial guest for us. You will always be our initial. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining, and I would love to have another talk with you soon. And looking forward for your latest article. We will share this in our video, in our description, and also your LinkedIn ID as well.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Devendra. I appreciate it a lot, and I am very grateful for the opportunity to chat today. This is the kind of stuff I talk about all day anyway, so thank you.
Yeah. I think we both enjoy discussing the recent or latest trends about marketing. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Good. Have a nice day. Take care.
Have a good one.
Good.
Thank you.
Bye.